Let's see how YouTube transcription messes us up. Hello and herzlich willkommen zum Auf Die Fresse, the WXW review podcast in English. I'm Ian Hamilton, joined as always by Mike Kilby. And Mike, how's it going?
All good, man. Yeah, it's been another bumper week or so, sort of in the world of WXW. Some two very good shows, and yeah, excited to talk through them.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of news, of course, coming out: Broken Rules and Wheel of Wrestling 33, which of course we'll cover this week. But I guess may as well start with that. We've got some spoilers within, so we'll start with names being announced for upcoming shows. The Hours of Hungry qualified for the World Tag Team Festival. They beat Maggot and Vincent Heisenberg at that Wheel of Wrestling 33. Yeah, we know it's going to be Bobby Guns and Michael Knight. Bobby Guns bludgeoned up his leg at Broken Rules, but kind of forced a change to the cards. But yeah, Hours of Hungry in, and I guess stuff we're going to talk about on the show today. Bit of a no-brainer.
Yeah, for sure. And a team which at the last Tag Fest they were involved in. Am I right there? That was 2019. 2019. Yeah, they had a very, very good performance. Icarus flew close to the ceiling lights, lost his wings, and did a dive off the balcony. Yeah, it was all. I think they're a perfect addition to it, and by far, I think in the conversation for best team in Europe, can't think of, well, apart from maybe the odd one, maybe in the UK, can't really think of anybody that much better. So yeah, I think they're a natural fit for it, really.
Another team announced: the Calamari Drunken Kings of Chris Brooks and Masahiro Takanashi. They've been a team since Brooks went to DDT back in 2019. That feels a long time ago now. They're currently the Gato Move Asia Dream Tag titles. I think Chris is doing some gimmick on Twitter where he's counting up the number of days we've been champ. About 120 odd now, but sure by the time this goes, it'll be a lot higher. They've also held DDT's tag team titles between March and May this year. So two teams in there. I think that's alongside, was it Violence Forever and Irie and Arbe. So got half field already, you reckon?
Yeah. So is it eight that's going in?
8 because it's half of 16 carats.
Yeah. So yeah, I think Brooks is a bit of a Brooks and Takanashi is obviously a bit of a no-brainer. I think Brooks is I think before anywhere else he was a WXW guy. Really, can't think of, at least sort of in the British sense, WXW is where he sort of first broke out. I feel outside of the Midlands. So. Yeah, for me, it's a bit of a no-brainer having them in as well, like the Arrows. Bit of a homecoming month, really, for him, because he's back for, I think, Progress he's back for.
Progress he's doing Birmingham. I think that one's sold out.
Yeah.
He's a drawn Progress now.
Well, he is a draw.
Always was, yeah, but I'm saying, like, in terms of Progress, actually selling out a venue, I think that's the first one since their return show.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing is, like, I don't really know how long he's over for, or if he's got to come back to do visa stuff or whatever, or if is he back permanently, we don't know. But yeah, it for me, it's a great decision. I think I'm very excited to sort of see how he's moved on in the 3 years, because I have to admit, I'll be completely honest, I've not watched him since he's left. I don't know if he's any better. Is he? He might. I'm very excited to see him because I don't know what's changed, and it's almost like seeing a friend you've not seen since school or something like that. It's kind of a sort of see, are they still going to have the things you liked about them, or yeah, that's the thing that's quite exciting for me. So yeah, that's going to be a good addition to the weekender.
Some other names, Masa Slamovich and Orshi have been announced for October's Femmes Fatales. Again, one pretty big name. Masha's been doing rounds in Impact and pretty big on the Indies. Orshi, I think we spoke last time, pretty clear that they're setting up the big things in WXW.
Well regarded, yeah.
Yeah, so, and spoiler, they do have a match on the Wheel of Wrestling with Shopping this week. So, there's a lot of water going the bridge before now in October, but I would not be surprised if the final is that being rematched.
Depends on who else comes, really. I suppose there's quite a I think it all depends on who sort of turns up to the tournament. I know that there's a few American workers in Europe that weekend, so there might be a few that might turn up, because I know they have. What's the one in Doncaster? Is it 1PW? That's the same weekend.
1PW is from the first Fox, but I don't know if that clashes.
I think that actually might clash with the tag Femme Fatale, actually. So completely disregard what I've just said. But yeah, anyway, there will be quite. There's always sort of people over, and there's plenty of people you could get in, and I'd love to see sort of maybe a Giselle Shaw maybe come in, or a I don't know, a Lana Austin. I think has been doing some good stuff in sort of Progress as well. And you kind of think if there is still the cross channel relationship between Progress and WXW, you kind of think that having sort of some of the big women from the UK in that tournament would be a good idea.
I'll say, there's a lot more wrestling to be done between now and October.
Yeah.
Before then, we've got Shortcut for Top, just for one name announced so far in Cara Noir. Don't expect all 30 names to be announced. WXW tend to bring back guys from the past for these. I think we've had, was it Dirty Dragon a couple of years back? Mike Schwartz won it even 2 years ago. So don't expect this being all full-time roster guys. You can have some people who come in just for weekend and that's it. But Cara Noir, at least in terms of being a former Carrot winner, a strong first name for the lineup this year.
Yeah, and I think I think especially for like Guns, it was a real launch pad, I think, for him beyond sort of where he was. Mikey Schwartz's shock win was, for me, was great because it set up that really, really, really good feud with Bobby Guns. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. Jörn's win was a great return, and Thatcher's sort of return as well. It's a good one for a return winner, really, isn't it? And there's plenty of people who could be. And what better way to sort of announce a big main event for Tagfest, because usually the winner of Shortcut gets the October main event title match. So if you bring in there, I don't know, somebody from who's recently released, or not, I'm not saying just Tim or anything like that, but you bring in sort of anybody and you have them win a Shortcut, and you've immediately got a chance for a bloody good main event, as long as you have the right champion.
So again, more names will be getting announced there. A bit further ahead, jumping all over the calendar here, looking at Carrot next year, WXW announced, I think it's early today, front row and VIP festival passes are gone, so that's pretty much every show, but in a circle. There's about 10 tournament passes for row 2 and 3. I mean, got about 9 months before this, so the fact that we've sold front, second, third, nearly, and VIP stuff this far out, not bad going considering everything going on.
It's good going, and I can't think about Carrot. I can't think about Carrot tickets until I've done Tagfest. So. Yeah. I was actually quite early getting Carrot tickets this past time, because I actually got them in November, which is the earliest I've ever bought or arranged anything. But because I normally wait till about January. But yeah, it's a bit too. I mean, I've not even booked anything for Tagfest yet. So talking about tickets for Carrot, my God.
Yeah, I've got my flights booked, and I'm very nervous just with everything going with airports.
To be fair, me and you
We saw
are
back then,
quite
but
lucky. Me and you are quite lucky in the sense that we could get the train from where we live. It's
yeah,
perfectly doable. So, and I have done it in reverse. So,
I was just hoping not spent. Like I've seen the images at Heathrow, where we've got like the baggage reclaim just full of suitcase because there's been
yeah,
delays and people not sorting them. So hopefully that's not quite as bad in October, and we end up in a situation of things 3 hours being those poor sods. There's a retro start of this month they had was like a 6 hour flight day. Like they end being diverted from Luton to East Midlands, then had to get the train down for the 229 show.
yeah,
And I think saw Icarus similar issues coming back from Southampton last weekend. So yeah, so right now it feels wrestling and flying in and out of the UK is pretty snake bit, but
yeah. I think there's lots of reasons for that. I think.
yeah. And we aren't a politics podcast, although I'm pretty sure if anything to say will probably torn apart. But going to something a little bit lighter, and some of it popped up really short notice last week. Brain Slam. So this it wasn't really a directly branded show. I guess was them helping put on a show for Vans. What Vans were like? Would you call them like trainers? We're not really trainers, are they?
Vans is a skateboarding brand. So fashion, but mainly you're known for the shoes and sort of general skateboarding equipment, and well, you'd know what Vans are.
Yeah. So the Vans.
I don't know if they're a bit newfangled for you, Ian.
Not bad, old mate. They've directly worked with Fans Europe's Twitch channel and Brained at a time for a Los Angeles artist collective. Blame
Yeah.
Wikipedia, that's wrong. But we did something with Fans on Twitch on Friday night. Some surprising names on there. Now, commentary I had Dave Bradshaw doing commentary with a guy called Alhan, who I
Yeah.
guess is a streamer, from what I can find out.
Yeah, I don't know who he is really, but I got the impression he wasn't a wrestling person.
No, I mean, like very early on, you get the is it fake? Does it hurt? Kind of questions. Which, I mean, all credit to Dave Bradshaw. I mean, there are ways you could have responded to that, just being super kayfabe. Like, I think it was the first match, and we'll just go through the results. But like, first match ended with Dreisker hitting a Dreisker bomb, and Dave said, "Oh well, that's a broken rib, so it's going to hurt." It's like, no, it's the kind of thing where if you don't know what you don't know ain't going to hurt you. That kind of thing. But at the same time, it's also, you see wrestling, any mainstream coverage, it's always taken that slant of, oh, it's not real, it's fake, it's coordinated, it's this. It's also those kind of questions which, especially these days, very tricky to dance around without making you or the other person look an absolute idiot.
Yeah, I think overall, like the card the card was the match quality was. We'll go into the matches. Not going to do a deep dive on it because it's not really WXW, but I think everything was good. Everything else, sort of all the stuff in between, was very it wasn't really. But then I don't think wrestling fans were really the audience for it.
I did see a few wrestling shirts there. It was like a 0-1 thing, was the Suzuki shirt, so it wasn't all, I don't say normies, but it wasn't like we just round up people off the street from the Paris Fashion Week.
Yeah.
There were some wrestling fans there, but yeah, you could tell. I'm going to get slaughtered for this comparison. It's almost like the kind of crowd Eve attracted, the night out kind of crowds.
Well, in a way, that's what you want. And let's face it. On the Friday night of Paris Fashion Week, WXW managed to attract trendy people to a wrestling show. Well, sorry, Vans managed to attract trendy people to a wrestling show, which I think, if anything, it's exciting that the brand of Vans sees wrestling as a worthwhile medium for advertising.
Yep.
So I think from that sort of perspective, it's very interesting. I know they've done WXW have done corporate gigs in the past. They've done obviously they do the German Comic Con thing in Dortmund, which I think is kind of the same sort of thing, non-canon stuff. And they also did sort
That
of the
hotel gig
shows.
in Berlin, if I remember right, a few years ago.
Sorry?
It was like a hotel. I would say it was like some company awards evening thing. I remember.
Yes, they did. They did it for effectively, I think, the German version of B&Q or wherever it is. That was so they've done this sort of thing in the past. So I mean, it was obviously like a corporate job, but I thought, yeah, and the card was way better than it had any right to be.
Yeah,
You could have very easily chucked out Heisenberg versus Tristan Archer as the main event and go, right, yeah, there you go. Van's done some wrestling, but they brought some bloody good names in.
I mean, they, to be fair to Wexford, didn't advertise the cards. I think it was just before 6 o'clock our time, they threw the match graphic up. And the first thing jumped off the page, Swerve Strickland against Axel Tish in the main event. You what, guys?
It was a tables match, wasn't it, as well?
I know they're doing some weird poll stuff. Like it was
almost like Cyber Sunday. Cyber Sunday or whatever it is.
Taboo Tuesday, Cyber Sunday, which, I mean, it worked. And again, I think I saw someone comment, it's the way you get the mainstream's attention with props, which isn't, I can't complain. But we'll go quickly down through the cards. So opening match, I think they had this on the graphics as 6-man, and then both teams had off and out, which just confused the hell out of everyone. But Robert Dreisker, Norman Harras, Vincent Heisenberg, and Kuro from APC in Paris beat Danny Frey, Rotation, Rick Salem, and Thiago Montero in the opener. It's a decent match. I think a lot of chaos, and I think maybe a few too many bodies for not Dave, but for Alan to just get used to. I think there was a lot, especially when they were told it's a 6-man and turned to an 8-man. That kind of threw them a bit, but plenty of bodies flying and good old-fashioned chaos to get the show off and running. Second match, Tristan Archer.
Sorry, go on.
Second match, Tristan Archer defended the WXW Unified World Wrestling title in a street fight over Igel Blanc. Again, that one had a lot better than I was expecting. Bear in mind, I don't want to use the casual word, but a non-wrestling crowd, street fight, this could have been, not just a walk and all kind of thing, but pretty damn good for a guy who usually wouldn't be in the title picture.
Yeah, and I suppose I think also from the perspective of, as I say, we're a company that's showing off wrestling. You've got somebody with a very, very unique look in Igel Blanc, and it looks good going against sort of a local guy as the champion.
Moved into women's match. Orshi beat Iva Klasky. I think that's one we've been doing a few times now. Obviously, Orshi debuted in a circle, losing to Eva, so a bit of role reversal there. Another one was a bit surprising. Sense of Alto beating Kid Lycos. Not so much result, but just Kid Lycos randomly being on this card out of nowhere.
Yeah, quite a long match over here, wasn't it, as well? But yeah, it was. That's what I was sort of saying. It was a bit of a strange sort of show. With Lycos turning up, wasn't really. It was kind of a, because as I said, they kind of, I think you said it on Twitter, they buried the lead and they kind of said they didn't really advertise anything, and then you look at it, it's like, well, where the hell's that come from?
Strickland over Axel Tischer main event. Now I guess this wasn't really a WXW show, so we can kind of cut out his first match in WXW, since let's not go there. But I mean, this is still on the Van's Twitter. I looked earlier today, so go on.
You can still watch it.
Yeah, it's well worth. Even if you just watch main events, but maybe this entire card. I mean, 2 hours of wrestling for free. If you don't like the commentary, put it on mute. But like I say, for free, 2 hours of wrestling. Damn good card. I mean,
well, it's not a 2-hour show. Sorry,
I would have paid money to watch this show live.
Yeah, if this was and this is the thing which I liked about this show, is that if this is a look into the Fight Forever concept that's coming up, that's very exciting. Because this is just counting up. So this was, it was a 2-hour card, but really there was about an hour and a half.
Yeah, because we did stuff like, there's a lot of dead service stuff. They did was like a fashion parade where you had wrestlers in the gear, and Alan, Dave, Bradshaw, which were like rotation played an absolute T. God love him. But I think Alan he doesn't like singlets. I think that's one thing we took away. He just didn't like the singlets look.
Yeah, it's that was. Yeah, it was. I think it's worth checking out. That's what kind of the main thing is. It could have very easily been, okay, that wasn't worth my time, but I'm glad that I did watch it because I think the matches are good enough. It's something that somebody maybe needs to find out how to download it so it doesn't get lost forever, which I worry may happen. Especially for the main especially for the main, I think the main was perfectly good. Likewise for the title match street fight, I think that should really be try and kept by somebody for the same reason, because it's a title match which runs the risk of disappearing.
I mean, imagine it being recorded by WXW, but again, I don't know if this is going to be, I don't say tidied up, but edited down and put on WXW now on YouTube. But yeah, like I say, as we were speaking and recording this now, it's still up on Vans Europe Twitch. I'll put a link in the show notes if I remember, but have a look for it. It's there, worth your time, and like I say, it's free, so everybody wins.
Yeah, perfectly free, and as I said, it's. I was sort of reading through one of the German forums and the other day about this show, and they were sort of saying that it was. I think overwhelmingly the review of the show was positive. So, because I always kind of wonder if I live in a bit of a bubble with sort of that thing, but looking in from like the British perspective, but yeah, overwhelmingly positive from what I can see.
Yeah, just looking on Cage Match, it was just one rating right now, 8 out of 10. Yeah, it's confusing enough on the right Twitch channel. The WXW YouTube announced the event and teaser. Fortunately, I have a live Twitch version I missed, but it doesn't matter. This, I have a feeling maybe a Google Auto Translate failed, but I'm going to read anyway. Horny TV show, all recommendations.
That's Guile. Guile means awesome.
Well, this is what Google's translation as.
Guile is a word. It means horny and awesome at the same time.
Google.
Yeah.
But so yeah, again, can't give it enough recommendation. But what we'll move on to though, I've got 2 shows from the Turbine Hub that's been released, taped about a fortnight ago. Broken Rules, Wheel of Wrestling 33. But we'll start the marquee event, Broken Rules. Started off with the surprise benefit scramble. Orshi beat rotation, Idle Blanc, Hector Invictus, Masha Slamovich, and Peter Dehani, just over 10 minutes. Orshi gets that Femmes Fatales spot as a reward. In this one was the latest change, Idle Blanc in for Bobby Guns. Bob Sensive also, we said last show, out of surgery, so they just did a straight swapulation of the card. But yeah, perfectly fine scramble to open the show.
Yeah, and the note I sort of made when I was watching it is that Hector is very quietly a very, very good multi-man wrestler.
Yeah.
He's kind of showed the same thing in the 16 carat one he had. It was either 2020 or it would have been 2020, where he was in sort of the multi-mans then. He also did the same at this past carat, and I think he's very quietly very competent sort of doing the multi-man. He's never the focus of the matches, but I always sort of notice that he's always doing a really good job.
He's kind of a glue in these kind of things.
Yeah, he can base for the sort of the lucha style wrestlers really, really well, and I think he's very giving. And especially when you have somebody like Orshi who's maybe not quite. She's still. I mean, let's face it. She's been wrestling for not very long at all.
Still a rookie.
I think he was very giving to somebody who really isn't. She's excellent and is a prodigy, but she's still. He was definitely a net positive on that match rather than the other way around.
Second match, Lavaniel over Psycho Mike, 11 minutes. This was mostly comedy, maybe a bit long as well, but Psycho Mike's whole gimmick, doing body slams. I mean, he's still over in Oberhausen, which I think you're going to get till the end of time.
It was more over than it wasn't Hamburg.
Yeah, that was very telling. But yeah, Lavagne'll still on be proved to be better kind of thing. But yeah, it was fine. Again, I think this is the one where when they put the card up, it was also Lavagne'll, also Psycho Mike said, well, you've got no other names, may as well make that match. And lo and behold, that's what you have.
Yeah, and they did a kind of funny thing with the whole Psycho Mike comes out at the beginning with stealing. He stole Lavagne's microphone, so that obviously set up a bit of an edge at the start when Lavagne like shouts at him and makes him cry. But yeah, it wasn't brilliant really as a match, I don't think, but it was a comedy thing, and I think these things have their place.
Was that thing at
It
the
was a
start?
bit of a sorry. Go for it.
So it was that thing at the start after you saw the mics and the crowd was cheering, like, wow, I'm really popular. Can't believe nobody's ever thought of doing this.
Yeah. And I think it's just it seems a bit of a shame to have. I think you warmed up the crowd with the benefit scramble, and then you've immediately cooled them down with sort of this match, and I think that's probably the placement of this on the card really isn't ideal. It's not where I probably would have put it. But yeah, otherwise it was perfectly fine. It wasn't, I say, wasn't brilliant, but it was all right.
Move on then, got Karen Noir submitting Axel Tischer, same amount of time, 11.5 minutes. This one I thought it didn't really get into a higher gear. To me, decent match. And then I think it's for Hamburg Grunschbahn, they've announced a rematch. So yeah, go figure. Yeah, decent match. In fact, we've already announced a rematch. They're going to make this a bit of a series. Yeah, no, not absolutely fantastic. Like say, we're clearly saving stuff for rematches, but yeah, decent enough.
Yeah, I think this was probably the best on the show. Well, I think it's tied really sort of for the best on the show, but the it was a bit of a they got a lot more in the 11 minutes than the match beforehand. I think the only issue with this Cara Noir Tisha thing is I think I've seen this match enough now that I don't necessarily need to see it anymore. If they are going into a bit of a series thing, then okay, yeah, fair enough. But I kind of feel like I've seen it now. I don't really need to see it much more.
Especially with so often no one after the other as well, like
Yeah.
Last man standing, Jörn Simmons over Vincent Heisenberg in 17 minutes. Don't know where you want to start on this one. I mean, clearly right guy won, but I think for me, love this is that awkward thing of from the two. Heisenberg we're not doing anything with outside of this. Jörn we're trying to keep. I don't want to say keeping hot or keeping thereabouts in the title picture, but I don't think at any point I ever believed Heisenberg was going to win this.
No, especially now that Maggot and Allison have babyfaced themselves, and Heisenberg is still kind of a heel. There was no. I think if all three of them were heels still, I might have maybe bought that Maggot and Allison, screw over Jörn, and then you maybe get like Jörn and Maggot have a sort of a thing over the title or something like that. You could have maybe done something like that, but because like Maggot's babyfaced himself now, you can't really do that. It felt long. This match, it kind of ambled along a little bit. The Jörn intensity that I think we've kind of grown in the recent over the last year or so, that the intensity that Jörn's put into his style kind of wasn't really showing through on this one.
I think bits as well. Like they did do a lot of stuff. The usual walk and brawl stuff. You get in the last man standing stuff. A lot of stuff with chairs. There's that thing where Jörn was cable ties. He tied Heisenberg to the post for some chair shots.
Yeah, it was a bit.
Because obviously you can't win a last man standing match if the guy is tied to the ring post standing up. But
yeah, you can't do that. I can't remember what the other spots were. Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't the best Simmons sort of full count every match sort of thing I can think of. I remember the hair versus hair. No, well, the street fight. Sorry, that he had with Star at Fan 2018. I thought that was a very, very good one, and I don't think this one even went anywhere near as good as that one. Different time period, obviously, but I mean, I feel like, it didn't really do much for me, to be honest.
We move on, men. Mixed tag, Sebastian Suave and Eva Kolaski beat Baby Allison and Maggot. Just over 10 minutes, and I think when this one came up, I can't remember, was the women's title match already announced at this point, or for the Wheel of Wrestling? To me, it just seemed weird how this was announced. It's like, well, clearly you've got 2 shows after this. You're setting up 2 title matches, and lo and behold, they got there. I think they obviously announced the shotgun one afterwards with your mate Norman, but I mean, at least in the bubble of those 3 shows, it did its job.
Yeah, as I say, I think the fact that they're kind of doing this sort of the double taping format at the moment, it gives, you kind of do need to have title matches on them shows. So I feel that they had to sort of set something up, and it's an ongoing. It doesn't make sense to just throw like a random sort of title match without something a little bit the day before.
Yeah.
Tom
just thrown out a card name, or a match where you've at least got the option to build and then maybe sell tickets the day after.
Yeah, exactly. And they say, there might be people who've gone on Saturday night and gone, do you know what? That was bloody good. And I've not got anything on tomorrow. I might come out tomorrow. And I think you kind of need to leave a bit of a teaser, give something that somebody's going to be excited to see the following day.
So after that, we had a elimination tables match, the rest of the tag team titles. Mikhail Schenkenberg and Nikita Charisma defeated Bobby Guns and Michael Knight, and I don't know whether just come out. Why was this a tables match, Mike? Have I missed something?
Yeah, I don't see the reason for it. It kind of felt like a stip for the sake of a stip.
And obviously, at the end, Bobby Guns cut himself. I mean, he's working again. I think he worked bodies on.
Yeah, he worked in Belgium this past weekend, so he is fine. Really
my
innovative.
God, that was scary. Just watching on demand. I saw photos on the night. It's like, Jesus, how did that? Oh, I mean, was that so? First elimination for Only Friends. Knight literally had a table thrown at his face.
Yeah, it was very innovative.
Yeah. Then it was a power bomb through the table, and it's like that just cut his leg up. Yeah. I mean, the match itself was fine, but the body count scared me.
Yeah, it felt high risk. It felt high risk for the sake of being high risk, and I think the issue maybe is that without this, the only broken rules style match would have been the last man standing match, which really had no real stake in it. So yeah, I think they could, if this had just been WXW Parade of Champions or whatever it is, because there's that other one, isn't there?
Drive of Champions, yeah.
Drive of Champions or something. They probably wouldn't have made this a table match. I feel like they were kind of backed into and to be honest, I don't think Simmons, Heisenberg would have been a last man standing either, to be honest.
Yeah.
They kind of got backed into this by the sort of the gimmick of the show. So I think with that it's big. But it was the table match wasn't bad. I think along with the Tisha match, I think this was probably sort of my joint too. The angle that Guns went through the table kind of was asking for trouble. So you just don't go through a table at that angle. It's just not a done thing.
Same up mind. The van show we talked about earlier was exactly the same kind of going down like pretty much flush with the table rather than side on. And I thought guys, that's brave considering what happened 2 weeks before.
And now that they find out, so the fact that they've done that, say literally a week later, is kind of like, come on, what was the reason for that?
But obviously Guns, it was well for him. He had to miss the Wheel of Wrestling tapings for next night for obvious reasons. And I guess the whole Guns night of it. If they're going to do a qualifier for Tag Festival, I guess we'll see. There's a lot more wrestling to go on. Main event: Jonathan Gresham beat Robert Dreisker by disqualification in 10 minutes. This one didn't think really got going, but let's be honest, the story was really what overtook all of this at the end. Do you know if there's anything else you want to talk about for match, or should we just jump straight to the end of the show?
I'm happy to just go straight to the end of the show because it was just a standard DQ finish, wasn't it?
So yes, he had Dreisker. He was doing fairly well, but then he decided to walk out. I'm looking at my report here for names. He had Peter Tahani, rotation, Danny Frey, Eli Bloom, Orshi, Nigel Blanc stopping him at one end of the building.
Yeah.
So he decides to go up the aisle, and they've got Icarus, Dover, and Lawrence Roman not trying to stop them and scare them back to the ring. Then you have a big march to ringside. Your fault now, Robert. And then, of course, it's a swerve. Arrows and Lawrence hit the ring. All four of them beat on Jonathan Gresham. There's a DQ. And the bit for cliffhanger to end the show. And yeah, that whole thing we saw, I forget which show it was, where the Arrows and Lawrence were in the pre-show dressing room. Guess we know, of course, on that pre-show dressing room.
Yeah, and I think that there was a bit of a because I suppose this goes into the next show, so we can carry on sort of talking about it in general. The last show we did, we basically said we spent about 10 minutes saying there's no direction for Avalanche, there's no direction for the Arrows, and Lawrence Roman is criminally underrated.
And lo and behold,
I don't have the book, honestly.
So Wheel of Wrestling 33 opened with so the group's called AMBOSS, which is German for Anvil.
Yeah,
got swank new gear. They interrupted Tommy Geeson opening the show. Just picked out a few lines from the promo. Now show's dropped in English with subtitles. Dreisker feels so good to finally not be the only person here who addresses and abhors this mediocrity. He's renounced the name for Avalanche, and I feel I've been seen here, Mike, because you're far too stupid to remember a German name and need an English word to remember it.
Why do you feel seen?
Over a slip of the tongue on the last show.
What did you say on the last show?
I accidentally called him Avalanche.
Oh, I've still been calling him Avalanche. This is his gimmick, man.
He spelled out his name, obviously, for the ironically the German crowd. Arrows, the best tag team in the world, even though they don't shout about it like others on Twitter. Aussie Open, FTR, which whoever you want to insert each pot shots at here. And said, Lawrence Roman, underrated. He's been a pre-show for years. And he said about how WXW, the office, haven't given a crap about me for 9 years. I paint my face like a raccoon. And then he put Disco King Frankie out of a job, Mike. Hey, well, him and that kind of crowd. But Vash Bear's gone. And AMBOSS 4-man stable. They set their stall up. They're rebuilding. They reclaim. They're reshaping. And
the big challenge they have is that this is, and I would include Roman in this as well. This is 4 very popular workers for WXW, and I think Roman maybe at a lesser level, but I think unanimously, sort of amongst the smart German fans, Roman's kind of one of these guys that a lot of people go. I almost get a bit like Connor Mills, sort of over in the UK. It's like he's at a good level, but he's just never really had that shot to go the next level up.
Yeah,
and like he's Ilya's protege, isn't he? Effectively.
Yeah, like I forget what we're called now. Like we see the name pop up a lot. Like he does a
Well,
lot.
he's from the Next Step Academy, isn't he? He's Tisha, and he's from Tisha's sort of school.
Yeah,
From Next.
Tish and Rick Baxter, the old
Yes.
Schwinger Club.
Yeah, the Swinger Club. So he's sort of from that sort of school, which, by my book, apart from the academy, is the best school in Germany.
Thing with Roman, like, so he has been around a fair while. But I mean, again, I know cage match, especially on like,
Well, he's retired a few times.
A certain level of wrestling doesn't list everything. Like you're not going to get like a holiday camp shows and what have you. Like he retired in 2019. Like he retired as the Next Step champion. Then he came back midway through the pandemic for Unlimited. And it's only really been since WWE came back with fans that he's really been something of a regular to WWE. Would you say? Like he did True Colors last year in Dresden.
Well, he's always done the Saxony shows.
Yeah, but like as far as doing away from being whatever, like he's done again. I'm going to get off my lack of knowledge of Germany, but like we did like Wheel of Wrestling over Carrot Weekend. Warm up in Frankfurt. Via so he's been a lot more than just the Saxony shows. But again, you've got a guy who a lot of people may only have seen him as the guy who had the special song sung for him on the way to the ring at Steffi a few years back. The first non-cursed wrestling Deutschland show.
Yeah, as I said, I kind of don't call him underrated sort of lightly. I think there's always, and I think kind of it's said about in the promo, and annoyingly, it say everything in the promo I do agree with. Again, but I think the real challenge for this group is when they get to the weekenders. Is obviously they're a Hill group, but the areas of Hungary are incredibly popular. Avalanche is incredibly popular with traveling fans. He almost has to, on the first day of Tagfest, come out and basically cut down everybody who travels. Otherwise, AMBOSS is pretty much like it just runs the risk of being cheered.
Yeah.
Because unless he comes out and basically says, "You traveling people, you only, he kind of pretty much he needs to do that.
Big matches.
He almost definitely needs to do it, and it's unless he does do that, they might run into a bit of trouble going towards that.
Well, he knows what both of us look like, so
yeah, and I opt into that. If it needs to be done, I opt into it. But
it is a brief move for because, like, say, Roman's not, I would say, regular at least on main shows, but three of the top good guys in WXW, you've basically flipped. So I wouldn't say you've got a massive hole in the roster in that sense, but you've got room for a lot of names to move up to fill that void. And yeah, again, like I say, you've got the issue with potentially you can have the smart ass fans, cheering because I mean we've said when Dreisker, before we did the podcast, when Dreisker was, I don't want to say workshopping this, but the first Shotgun 2020 stuff, where he was being the surly veteran, being a little bit harder on.
He's never not been justified in his actions.
It's all justified, and all this, like, well, the best bad guys. There's a valid reason behind it. It's not the why did I do this? You people don't deserve to, that kind of template, non-answer stuff. You can say, maybe part reality, part not. Some names have been and gone, maybe weren't, there on merit, maybe. Again, I'm not going to, put in fault up, but just in terms of looking for, the locker rooms become like a hobby club, I think is what Dover called it. So it's that feeling of we don't know what's going on, but it's clearly for something like that, it's not something that's being pulled off his backside.
Yeah, and I think over time, do you maybe get the whole thing about? I could see them being pissed off at the imports. I can see that being a thing because, they can do the whole thing of we're here every single show, and then somebody flies in from Japan or somebody flies in from the UK and walks straight into a title match, for
It's going to be a hell
example.
of a story for Tagfest
Yeah.
weekend, even just for the Arrows.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the that's sort of the thing you kind of look out for. But it's an exciting group, and I think the first promo was a good introduction, really.
And of course, that bled into, I guess, the opening salvo, I guess you'd call it. Lawrence Roman submitting Nick Schreier in just under 3 minutes. Not like a Goldberg squash, but it was a kind of thing where, he needed to have him there. It's a guy who's not been a regular on the shows, shows what he can do. He's got his finish. It really sets him out. He's not just the fourth guy in that group, which I think they really need to do. You don't want, especially given that he really isn't established at any level in WXW, you don't have your fourth guy be the guy who takes all the falls like New Japan sense.
Yeah, it's not like sort of early Rise when you knew Bouncer was taking the pin.
Yeah.
So that's
next up, then we had Axel Tischer beating Peter Tahani in just over 10 minutes. This one I thought was fine, and this theme comes a bit on on the show as well. And I'm guessing the Wheel of Wrestling 34 as well. Big story of this was Tahani had a bad back or injured back from the night before, and a lot of this was if Tahani was 100%, could he have beaten Tischer?
Yeah, I thought I noticed that as well, and I feel that, as I said, Tischer's very quietly turned into a very good worker, and he's kind of a bit of the benchmark. I think that everybody kind of needs to work towards, really, in the company. Again,
like a gatekeeper of sorts, I would say at this point.
Sorry,
kind of like a gatekeeper of sorts. Like he's had the run of a title of runs. Now he's the if you can hang with him.
If you can beat Tischer, then you can beat anybody. It's kind of the level, really, isn't it? Yeah, I thought, I say if Tiani had been 100%, I think he definitely could have got him. It sort of was looking that way, but then there's also the veteran instinct. Tischer's been wrestling since the 2000s, and Tihani's been wrestling for 4 years, or 4 or 5 years. So there's sort of always that sort of working, but there's a lot of mutual respect, I think, in that sort of sense. Tischer didn't kick him out of the ring, did he?
And again, I think that's the kind of thing where we said before, Tahani's not in for every show, but getting this kind of experience under his belt when he does get, whether it's you'd expect a shotgun title first. It's going to build up. It's not just the hey, he had a big reaction this weekend, then we decided to hot shot on for him. So it's doing a slow and steady thing and giving him more experience as well, which is going to need anyone who's given him a title belt. It's the kind of thing where you can't just day one he's the championship. You knew create a connection and be a valid champion, especially with some of the names who've held that belt before. But slowly, and see where Peter Tahani goes next. Blanc beat Mikhail Schenkenberg just under 7 minutes, and this one clearly they're going back to the Rotten Flot Senza Igel tag match some point down the line. When Senza's hands injured, he's not wearing that. In that cast you had at Van Show, I don't want to say it was comically oversized, but yeah, I don't know, man. But anyway, this match, obviously, Idol's by himself. Charisma didn't get involved too much, if at all, I don't think. But Clean's win is he going to get in this?
Interesting 5 weeks out injured, though, isn't it?
In his wrestling, I think wasn't he working the week after as well?
Well, he was working in Belgium yesterday. He won the title in Belgium yesterday. Sorry, this past weekend. Sorry, and he's obviously just recovered quicker than expected, or he's just working heavily, taped up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking here. So, did Wheel of Wrestling in Hamburg June 3rd, Cult in Oberhaus number 4th, IWA in Rome on the 5th, then nothing for just say 2.5 weeks. So yeah, he's working taped up, which if he's able to, I'm not going to complain. I mean, at least for match against Lykos, it didn't really dampen the style. it gave an obvious story for his matches. But yeah, with this one, I guess we're going to wait until he's fully healed before they do whatever tag title match we're going to do. Clearly, we're going to do the broken rules. And again, it feeds into the rotten flot thing of best tag teams around here aren't tag teams.
No, but I think there's the whole thing of like. Sorry, I think we overlapped there. I think the whole thing about the sort of the tag team sort of division is that they're kind of trying to go for the. And I'm no expert in this, so I'm probably going to get crucified for this. But in the sense of back in sort of the 90s, you had the All Japan and you had the big heavyweight tag teams where it's two good singles guys together. You have your teams like Only Friends and so, and they work well because they're two good wrestlers. They're just together.
Yeah, and I think as well, I mean, you look for the main roster now, you've got Rotten Flot, you have the Arrows. There are no other tag teams. Like, even Maze Mudo, we're going to get to that next because I saw your tweet about Mudo, his match here, but it's been a while. You lost, even if you want to count Itak Abdul from Azel. It's been a while since WXW's had any kind of, I would say established tag teams, if you know what I mean, like any kind of depth in match. Not that it's a bad thing, but it also means it's an easy pot shot for folks like Rotten Flot, like ours, to say, well, we're the best tag team because we're the only tag team.
Yeah, and it's easily a big hole that can open up if you have a couple of injuries. If Schenkenberg, pulls his shoulder and he can't wrestle, you're basically up the creek because you only have one tag team left.
Mm-hmm.
So you always need to kind of be in a position where I think you've got more than enough that's sort of rotating through. I mean, they did it for a while with the Academy attack, the WXW Academy sort of as the rotating tag team. That sort of worked, but they just they need to just they need to obviously get a few more builds. So I think this is just chucking in these sort of strange bedfellow teams. It works well, I think, for them at the moment. And there is really a dearth in Germany for tag teams anyway at the moment.
I mean,
at decent level.
We're going to touch the Academy show. There's a few tag teams there, but again, it's getting that level. But yeah, it's definitely something we can look at. I know, obviously, for Tag Festival, we've already said there's 4 teams in there. If they bring any others in to establish it, maybe after Tag Festival, to bring new teams in and get them established. But yeah, see where it goes. But moving on to the show, Fast Time Mudo over Masha Slamovich in just over 13 minutes. Applause yours, Mike.
I'm not enjoying Mudo at all at the moment. I don't really know what it is. It's just not working for me anymore. I thought the match was very lethargic. I didn't really feel that I got much out of it. Masha, I thought, looked really good. Yep. And there was a lot of intense sort of sections in the match, but really it just didn't grab me. I don't know if you were any different to me here with this, but it was.
I've been a big fan of Masha from stuff from the indies, like Game Changer, Beyond, what have you. I mean, of course, originally this match was going to be Masha against Bobby Guns and Mudo against Chris Ridgway. Ridgway pulled out. Bobby was injured, so 2 people at loose end. You put them together in a resi match. I liked the match. I mean, when 3 1/4 on, it was no joint match for night for me, but I think a lot of it was Masha. I don't know what it is for Mudo. I don't know if it's because Stephanie May's being injured. We had the big moment at Carrot, and that's been a bit rocky. But what I saw in him last year, I mean, I did the Voices of Wrestling, the old FSM 50, and I had him on my list. It's like things nearly just missed the cut kind of thing. I'm not seeing any of that this year in him. I don't know whether it's because he's being presented differently. I don't know whether it's because before he was building up to the tag title, eventual tag title thing. I'm just not seeing it this year.
I just think he's just not a very likable wrestler. Like, he doesn't. I just don't feel that.
Elsewhere, mind, from what I can tell you. WXW is the only place he works as the blue eye from Edward.
Yeah, I just don't think as I say, kind of put him as sort of a blue-eyed babyface thing. I just don't think it works at all. I think he's a naturally. I've seen him work elsewhere, sort of for the GWF, and yeah, he's doing GWF, isn't he?
Yeah, wrestled Oku in the light heavyweight thing earlier.
Yeah, he was sort of doing a Healy thing there, and that was a lot better. I just don't think he needs just a bit more of an edge to him, and I'm not really enjoying him at all. It's almost like they're trying to make him be sort of substitute Speedball, but it's nowhere near that. And I don't think he just smiles too much.
Too happy. God,
Yeah,
is he the guy that Dover's on about for Hobby Club?
he might well be. I don't know. For me, it's just not working. Like I honestly, if he stopped wrestling for WXW, I wouldn't miss him at the way he is at the moment. I kind of don't really have anything I don't really have any positive memories of him in the last year, like since we've had crowds back at all. I think he's just been very, very pedestrian.
Yeah, I think it's
I
definitely
don't get it.
some kind of reboot needed. I mean, it's worked as far as establishing him, but now it's the next level of you're part of the roster. Now go the next step, and I think that's a bit where it's going to be sink or swim pretty soon.
Yeah, it's just I think we say about the underrated. I just think he's criminally overrated. I think at the moment.
My bad.
Yeah,
Your
fault.
Yeah. Tag Festival qualifier, Icarus and Dover beat Heisenberg and Maggot just under 7 minutes. Short and sweet. They did the whole thing again, like with Tahani earlier on. Heisenberg clean on 100% after getting twatted with chairs the night before. Again, Icarus and Dover in the match was no result, really, was it?
My question for this one, and I did write this down when I watched it, is what is the bloody point of turning Icarus and Dover and then less than 24 hours later putting him in the ring with a very unpopular wrestler in Heisenberg? I get Maggot's popular, but Maggot's not going to have any beef with. I don't think so, but Maggot's not going to have any beef with AMBOSS. Heisenberg's a heel, so you're putting a fresh heel team against somebody who's very unpopular in Heisenberg, and Maggot, who's kind of like his own thing anyway. What's the bloody point?
Only thing I can think is maybe residual stuff of Heisenberg and Avalanche from the, when he walked out of the academy stuff. That's the only thing I could think. But yeah, again, originally this one was only fans against Heisenberg and Maggot.
Only friends, yeah.
So straight swap. But yeah, and I think that's probably why it was, in and out quick.
And I suppose the match was already booked, but I don't know. If you knew that he was going to bring AMBOSS in, you would have booked them against the rotation and
Eli
someone else or something, a rotation and Orshi or something like that. You can just do something. But it's for me, I don't know. This was a very poor. It was a very poorly placed match. I thought the match itself was all right. Typical sort of Arrows fodder there, but it kind of defied all logic, really, for me.
Again, I guess the whole thing needs must. I don't think with Bobby Guns, don't think he really knew the situation the morning of. At that point, you've got in the locker room, so it's making lemonade out of lemons. But yeah, I think if this was a standalone show, probably wouldn't have been this match. Probably wouldn't even been on the show, but or at least not the qualifier thing. But yeah, so I was a Hungry and Tag Festival main event. Jonathan Gresham beat Tristan Archer by count out. This went news enough 20 minutes. Of course, Archer retains the WXW title by count out, and yeah, I think like the Tisha Kawanoa match from Broken Rules, this one to me didn't really hit a high gain. I think that was mostly by design. Like a lot that you had was Archer, playing keep away. Then when he actually got going, it got to the point where I'm going to beat you. It's like, well, okay, kicking out. Well, stuff this. I'm just going to take the count out. Screws you, screws me.
I think the interesting thing about this is that the pre-match promo had Tristan putting over the fact that Gresham is his friend, and also Gresham does say that after the match as well.
Yeah.
that was an interesting sort of thing to sort of come out with.
Maybe seed for a little bit further down
And
the line.
maybe that that maybe lent into the more that lent itself more to trying to evade rather than cheat method. So I don't know. That was a bit of an odd. It was an odd thing to sort of throw in, but it was it did have. I actually think I'm probably a bit more higher on this than you are. I thought this was a very good main event. I think I much preferred it to the main event that was on the night before. The only real difference is that there was obviously major implications from the night before. But yeah, I thought this was a more complete match. It's just that the Archer's doing a great job as a sort of a TV world champion. I think he's doing a brilliant job.
Radar as well, mind. I think a lot of people, saw a Carrot. He won the titles. Like, well, the ex cruiserweight guy. Bear in mind, literally the only thing he did was that cruiserweight classic. If that sticks from somehow. I think especially since he won it back from Jörn in Via, he's coming on leaps and bounds.
Yeah, I'm very happy to be proven wrong because I weren't convinced he was going to be any good for it at all.
But so after the match, Gresham did a speech about what was it? He's pulled the report, so he's complaining about berating Tristan for abandoning him, thanking WXW for letting him do what he does. And then set up a match for the day after or late in the evening. The show's dropping late this week. 4-on-4 tag, and we pull the lineup up. It's Jonathan Gresham rotation, Peach Tahani and Ilya Bloom against AMBOSS. So that's your main event. And I think when I looked at the Wheel of Wrestling 34 card, it's pretty light. And I would be surprised if that goes anywhere near 2 hours, just based on the matches and run times. But that's dropping in German on Wednesday, the 29th of June. English, they're advertising for the 30th. We'll see. In addition to that 8-man tag, we've got Maggot and Sebastian Suave for the Shotgun title, and Baby Allison defending women's title against Eva Kolaski, and we said earlier, Masha Slamovich and Orshi. So it looks a pretty decent lineup for the second half of those tapings was in Oberhausen a couple weeks back.
Yeah, and I think especially the Oberhausen tapings are getting. They're a bit more stacked than I ever remember them being. I feel that the format's working. The We Love Wrestling format, it is certainly working, and I think I'd still prefer sort of Shotgun, but there's enough sort of meat on the bones for it to sort of be. My only problem, the thing I loved about this show is that it was so short. It was 1 hour. It was an hour and a half, and it was brilliant. I hope that the next one is about the same length because I just can't stand them when they're nearly 3 hours long because I just don't have a time for it.
As someone who watched a 4-hour wrestling show over the weekend and didn't love life at the end of it, keep your wrestling show short. I mean, there was cases where going long, no suits and no AEW last night, they were 4 hours, had another hour if you watch a pre-show, but like the bread and butter shows like this, 2 hours.
They don't need to be 3 hours long.
Both Wheel of Wrestling 34 Broken Rules up on WXWNow.com now. I'll be very interested to see what they do when these drop from the network, just because Gresham had that Ring of Honor belt both times. And does a progress precedent come through where bye it's left off the show, or is it we're told over that promo from Tisha in German berating WWE, which is left on subtitled, which we'll see if anybody actually watches this. Probably hit upload, but I don't think there's any. I mean, we never do like announce dates of these. I know WXW stuff is always, I would say, about a week or two, a month or two behind with a week or two behind, a month or two behind on WXW now for obvious reasons.
I mean, ultimately, if they want to cut anything out, it's their decision. It's not WXW's.
Yeah, and
So.
they've already checks already cleared.
Yeah, exactly. So, frankly, I don't think they're bothered, are they?
As long as we get the AMBOSS stuff in, and yeah. Anyway, upcoming events, I've got a few before we wrap up. So obviously we've got the Wheel of Wrestling 34 already taped. That's dropping this coming weekend, July 2nd. It's the final Wrestling Academy show in Essen. 4 o'clock bell time. I think still same as that sale of the bits and bobs from the Academy before they move to Gelsenkirchen. We have some matches of that, and I don't know if this is going to be taped. I'm keep my fingers crossed it will be, just for the sake of it, being the last Academy show. So we've got Ilya Bloom against Jacob Crane, Gaia Glass against Michelle Green, Project Justicia, that's Echo and Kilo against the Poster Boys of Alex Duke and Don Sheen, Kevin Lazar against Zeritus, and Big Nick and Yuval Goldschmidt against Tormentor and Fairs Aguilar. Fair bit of GWF in this lineup, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. I mean, I don't. Looking at the card, I don't think it'll be taped. I think if you'd had a sort of, I think you could have made an argument for like a Norman match on there, or sort of a big graduate sort of, almost like you want the sort of the stars from who've come up through the academy to sort of be on this show if they was sort of doing it as a proper goodbye. I don't really think it's anything like that. I don't think this will make tape at all.
If we do tape anything, just because of the way things work out for the moment, have Dreisker chuck Ilya Bloom out the door. Be the farewell, like get out and stay out, like Mo and sitting Homer. July 10th, WXW is going to the Studio Jenny in Nanterre. WXW in the APC Fight for Paris 2. I've got a few matches now. Jörn Simmons against Rick Salem, Maggot against Thiago Montero, Robert Dreisker against Igor Blanc, and Rotation against Kuro. We're not doing a one-night turn, so just a load of singles matches, and it looks to be a decent lineup just from those 4 matches alone.
Yeah, it'll be like that Progress one they do, I think.
A bit further ahead. Yeah.
A
bit further ahead for the Batch Cup in Frankfurt, July 16th. I think got 2 matches so far. Jörn Simmons and Only Friends against Tristan Archer and Rotten Flot. Plus Becca's making a debut, taking on Orshi. I think Becca was booked for just before Carrot, remember right?
I think she was booked for Carrot, wasn't she?
No, so it was her and Ava Everett came at the same time. But Beck was only like ever going to be short in like 2 or 3 shows at least announced. Then right. she wrestled for Eve, I want to say. Then she didn't break her arm. Things like a shoulder injury she got in Spain. Yeah, that just curtailed the tour straight away. But just back in Germany, she's got a bunch of dates in July and August in Europe as well, I believe. I think Wrestle Carnival booked her. Would not be shocked if like Progress and a few others booked her around that time. There's 2 matches for FFM. I think that one. I don't think it's sold out, but we've got Maggot and Baby Allison front and center on the poster. And actually, something I think we completely forgot from the reviews since we only went match by match. Who's back?
Well, that's on the next show.
Damn it, I spoiled. Well, they've got a name and photo all over this, but yeah, Prince of Who will be speaking about next time. July 17th, Club from Hell from Erfurt, nothing announced yet. Dead End 2022 is in Hamburg at the Grunschbahn. Axel Tischer and Caro Noir 2, that's on July 23rd. August 6th, back to Oberhausen Turbine Hall for Shortcut to the Top. And then August 7th, the debut of the Fight for Heaven tapings in Gelsenkirchen. And we've got some names for this. And when you said for the van show, I would pay for this. I would really try to make the trip over this if I could. Alex Kane debuting in Europe first time. Obviously, debuted this for the first time. Endicaro was back. Orshi, Peach Tahani, Robert Dreisker, Michael Knight, and returning Leon St. Giovanni. And that's like the name tag. That's a pretty good lineup for whatever this Fight Forever concept is going to be.
Yeah, and obviously you're going to chuck in domestic guys as well. So I think there's a lot of exciting. Yeah, I think there's a lot of exciting prospects to this. To say, if it's just sort of B show, sort of almost like the B matches where it's just like, here's another few sort of wins in the column. That's all good stuff. because I don't know what they're really going to do with it. It's kind of I'm not really sure what to expect. If they're going to continue storylines on Fight Forever, then brilliant. I'm all for that. But if not, it's just going to be matches, and that's also fine. So,
What if it's Spielabend?
well, that'd be just that would be too good to happen.
Well, maybe have like episode 5 or something like that. But yeah, I mean, say some decent names there. It's going to be on Billy. I think they said YouTube as well for.
Yeah, it will be YouTube in Europe.
So yeah, see what comes of that. That's August 7th, and I'd guess that'll be. I don't think they've given a date for debut. I would imagine end of August, early September. Get it up and running before Tag Festival. But yeah, that's the last thing we've got in the cards until Tag Festival end of September, start October.
The only thing of minor importance I can think of is Maggot is back in back in progress on the 24th of July.
Yep, taking on Charles Crown. May as well talk about since bringing it up.
I'm not going to talk about anything more than that. Well, Maggot's doing progress.
Yeah, he went out first round, super strong style. That's from the network. If you want to watch it,
yeah.
Maggot Charles Crowley, because we've done like bizarre friendship. I mean, hey, Maggot's getting bookings in Europe, in England, great.
Yeah,
and I think keeping on to extra stuff before we wrap up. Out of Hungary lost in Rev Pro. They beat the Smoking Aces in Southampton. So they finished 1 and 2 in their Rev Pro Great British Tag League stuff. And I think from what I saw, what Gadge said, they did like a post-match pull apart, which suggests it's going to spill into something if they get brought back. But yeah, I mean, the loss they had in London at the start of the month knocked them out of the Great British Tag League. So yeah, but at least we're doing something that at least keep the irons on the fire if they don't want to tempt British Airlines anytime soon.
Yeah, exactly. There's, I think that's kind of it really for upcoming things, isn't it?
Yeah, and you'll be off to Sweden, so be a couple weeks forward back. I mean, we've got Wheel of Wrestling 34 on Wednesday, and then who knows what comes on in July, because right now, again, looking at this, it's literally Fight for Paris on July 10th. So that'll probably be a couple of days after if they release it. Frankfurt, July 16th. So again, that's probably going to be 19th, 20th July. And Dead End, the end of July. So probably a few weeks before we're back again, depending on what happens on Wheel of Wrestling 34, if anything else happens. But yeah, plenty of stuff to to look back on, free and on the rest of now as we head into summer.
Yeah, heading into the sort of deep into the summer, and the traditional. I assume there will be the traditional sort of small summer break for WXW.
Yeah, I mean, I think looking at the dates, it looks like the Shock at the Top's the unofficial stop. Like there's nothing main roster, big air quotes, after Vental Tag Festival. So unless they announce a bunch of stuff, but to me, I think it would be take off.
You might get Fan in September.
Yeah, that'd be something that needs to be announced pretty quickly, I'd expect.
Yeah.
But I guess that's in, of course, yeah, there's a couple of shows going on, but anything you want to plug? I know obviously football season's over, starting again in a month.
Well, July is when I start kicking off again. So obviously I'm on the Groundhoppers guide, which is mine and Arnold Furious is that's our football ground hopping podcast. So I've got quite a busy July coming up. So probably at some point during July there will be a new one of that. However, you can watch our end of season awards / review of our exploits, and it's about an hour and I think it's about an hour and a half. So it's a good long listen. It's really good fun. Listen, it always is. It always is, and you get to hear us talk about all sorts of things on that. So that's kind of what I'd plug. So it's there is a tiny URL that you've made us, which is tinyurl.com/Groundhoppers Football, or you just go on YouTube and type in Groundhoppers Guide Arn and Eddie, and that you can find it that way.
I guess I think both of our fixtures for next season just got dropped, and October 29th and March 18th leapt off the page for obvious reasons for me.
Who's that then?
Sunderland away to Luton on it's home to Luton on March 18th, and at your place on October 29th. Both Saturday games, unless Sky mess around with the time slots. So, yeah.
Well, depends if you're in a relegation dogfight, I suppose.
Speak yourself, mate. But anyway, that'll do it for another episode. We'll be back some point in July, depending on when stuff drops and if we have another heat wave, it melts us. But you can find my stuff. I'm at Ian Wrestling on Twitter, backbodydrop.com for written reviews, 411mania.com as well. Mike Kilby on Twitter.
At Mike Kilby on everything, basically.
TikTok as well, no doubt.
I don't have TikTok. I have Instagram. You can follow me there.
I'll do for a couple of weeks. Thanks for joining us, guys, and we will see you in July. Cheers.
Yeah.